Welcome to the Plant-Centered and Thriving Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Kitchens.
Hello, plant-centered listeners. This is Katie, and I am here to do our intro today. I am so excited to tell you about an amazing couple who just happen to be some of our fantastic clients. Ashley and I love highlighting their stories because obviously we are very invested in their progress and their journeys. And today is no exception. So we're so excited to welcome Katelyn and Jordan Glass. Katelyn was affected by the COVID-19 virus in May of 2020. Since then, she's been diagnosed with long COVID and has started her long journey to recovery. And they're here to talk about that journey today. Katelyn actually went from running a half marathon to needing assistance walking up the stairs. She even had to close her salon business just because she was physically unable to work. And because of this, they knew they had to make some changes. And we are so excited that started with a plant-based lifestyle. That and several other changes to their mind and body and spirit has brought forth amazing positive results in their life. Today, Katelyn has recovered and credits her healthy lifestyle and mindset as part of her recovery. And because of this newfound energy that she has created a health advocacy company to assist those who are living with chronic illnesses. So without further ado, we are so excited to introduce Katelyn and Jordan to the show.
I can't wait to talk more about your plant-based journey because I'm curious, because I've heard Katelyn's side a little bit, but I'm curious to hear both of y'all's side as you both sort of made this transition. So kind of take me back to what was going on before you all went plant-based and what eventually prompted you to start making a change.
In May of 2020, I got COVID and I started having all these symptoms popping up out of the blue. I had no idea what was going on. That progressively got worse and worse. Actually, I think by the time I talked with you, actually, it had been about 2 years.
Yep.
And I wasn't able to eat at that point. It was just like so many symptoms, closed my business. I mean, it was like life-changing. I felt like I had hit a very low point in my life and I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I have to radically change everything. Yeah. Like, obviously what I'm doing right now isn't working. I need to try something different. And that's when we tried plant-based. And that truly was a kickoff of changing our mindset and our lifestyle and just has propelled us forward in so many ways that I didn't think would even be possible. Yeah. So, I mean, really getting sick was the kind of Kickstarter to changing everything in our life.
Yeah.
And
because you weren't sick for just that like a 2-week period with COVID. It was something that was lasted years. You were struggling with this.
At least 3 years now.
So I just had my 3-year thing, which is long COVID, which is what they're calling. It's kind of an umbrella term. You know, there's over 200 symptoms. Everyone can be slightly different, so it's very individualized. But we found out certain foods were triggering my symptoms to get worse. And a lot of the foods were inflammatory foods, which happened to be a lot of meats and cheeses and processed foods and like all those things that I didn't realize there were correlations between what I was eating and how I was feeling. But it was 2 years. But I mean, I had gotten to a point, Jordan would have to help me get off the couch. He walked me to the bathroom. Yeah. Like I closed my businesses. I couldn't do really much of anything.
Couldn't do anything.
It's pretty scary. I mean, I don't think a lot of people truly understand how disabling and debilitating this can really be.
Yeah, and it affected our lives in so many different ways. I've always been an outside salesperson. I've always been on the road. I couldn't leave Katelyn where she could barely walk to the bathroom. So I had to change my career, get off the road, be in an office. I'm not an office person. I love the people I work with. If you guys listen to this, love you guys. But it was just not, it wasn't working. But when Katelyn says she was sick, May of 2020, we ran the virtual Wilmington half marathon, Wilmington, North Carolina one. in May of 2020. And within a few weeks, Katelyn couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. I had to, escort her to the bathroom. We weren't going out. We kind of just became shells of ourselves. And her partner in that situation, she's like, hey, go out with your friends, go do what you do. And you're like, thank you, but she's just gonna sit there and watch another episode of Too Hot to Handle on Netflix or whatever. The lowest point, if you don't mind me telling this story, was when Katelyn looked at me about 2 years into everything, finally realized she's, finally sat down and said, I'm sick. And she looked at me and said, no harm, no foul. I don't think I'm ever going to get better. And if you want out, now's the time.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not going to burden you with this life. And I'm a talker. And once in my life, I was pretty speechless. And really just kind of said, look, we don't do that. That's not the way I was raised. It's not the way that we don't abandon those we love and care for. So
at that point, I hadn't really been able to accept that I was sick. So I was living in denial, and I constantly felt like I was a burden and guilty about everything. So there was a lot that I had to work through on my own end as well. And so I'm really appreciative that he stuck it out. I worked with a therapist, which I highly recommend anyone dealing with any kind of new illness, chronic illness, go talk to someone because they can put things into perspective. So, I think having a support system is absolutely massive. I don't think I'd be here today without my support system. It's a huge shift. You have to rethink about everything in life. Everything.
Everything.
And again, this was something that was going on for a long period of time. 2 years into this, you were saying this to Jordan, it wasn't this short-term thing. I'm sure at that point you're feeling like, well, what does the rest of my life look like? Because at that point you had no idea.
Yeah, I was dismissed a lot at doctors, and they said it was anxiety or your weight and just work out. And I didn't realize there's something called post-exertional malaise. And if you push yourself either mentally or physically, it can make you worse and crash and flare. And sometimes it's a permanent crash and you'll get out of it. And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary to think about.
We had a couple of calls to the emergency room. We had an ambulance come once.
Yeah.
That was a really scary moment when you find your wife laying on the floor, half conscious, is not a good time. And I can tend to be a bit dramatic, but I think it's important for people to know what it's like for some of us out there. And there's 20 million people in America alone dealing with this. Going plant-based isn't a diet. It truly is a life-changing event. It's a whole lifestyle change, but it leads to so many great things and so many byproducts of starting down this avenue that, we'll get into it, but it's been
the best thing.
Yeah.
It's been the best thing.
Yeah. It took 2 weeks. That was it.
Wow.
2 weeks of committing to it, and
haven't looked back.
Yeah. So how were you all introduced to it, and who was the catalyst for okay, let's give this a try? Did someone tell you about it? Did you read about it? How did it come about?
So I had gone to a doctor, and one of the things that was actually very helpful, she said, why don't you try going plant-based? Because they tend to be inflammatory and you're dealing with an inflammatory disease. And I was like, plant-based, oh gosh, where do I even start with this? Right? Okay, I'm used to eating chicken for protein. I'm used to doing this for blah, blah, blah. The things that we're taught of what our body really needs, yet my body didn't like those things. And so I always thought I was being healthy by following those quote unquote rules of what you're supposed to be eating, and just realizing that it didn't work for my body. So that was really the catalyst. I got back that day from the doctor, and I haven't touched meat since. I've had a little bit of cheese, but now I don't even care about cheese, which I was a cheeseaholic.
You are a cheeseaholic.
I would just go to the fridge and just grab some cheese and just eat it.
Yep.
So I never thought I'd be able to stop eating cheese, but I feel so good without it.
Yeah.
I also know what my body feels like to not feel good. And so I want to do everything I can to make sure I put things in my body that feels good.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing too.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people after they go plant-based make that connection of like, wow, I didn't know how good I could feel until I started kind of making that connection with what I'm putting in my body. Yeah, Jordan, I know you can relate.
I mean, it's every day. Like I grew up, again, I grew up in a small town in northern New Jersey. We Jewish family. I'm the grandson of a Holocaust survivor, so you better finish what's on your plate. And the youngest of three boys, you got to put a lot on your plate because if you don't, it's gone. So that was, I mean, that's how I was raised. I mean, again, it's nothing against my parents. They were just doing what they thought was the best thing according to the standard American lifestyle and diet. You know, we had a cat named Lox, for God's sakes, right? That's how much I loved smoked salmon and tuna and all the meats and the bread. And I'd be lying if I say, hey, I don't think about it every now and again. But then I remember how I felt after I would eat it. And the 2 o'clock nap, right? That was the first big thing I noticed was I was a napper and now I'm not. I sleep better. I feel better. I feel lighter on my feet. I've been an athlete my whole life, played ice hockey. So not like, just a jogging type thing, like physical, concussions, all that good jazz. And there's a little bit of a persona around that as well, where as a man, you gotta have your steak, and as an outside salesperson, I've gone to so many steakhouses, it is scary. And getting through not having to do that just because you have to. We've abandoned the 3 square meals a day. We eat when we're hungry.
Intuitive. We've been trying to do more intuitive eating and listening to our body and the hunger cues and how my body feels after I eat, the portions. And I feel like actually being sick and tracking everything and really getting to understand my own body has helped now with my mindset on food in general. I'm like, food is there to give me energy, to make me feel good, to keep me balanced. It's not necessarily for me at this point if I'm bored or, whatever it might be. Like it's helped shift that mindset on what food is really for. In my, I still enjoy it. I think it's really fun to cook. And, we really enjoy it, but it's not always on my mind.
Yeah.
I don't really have food on my mind very often.
I think the best way to put that is it sounds weird. We no longer fear food.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it's a testament too that you don't have to worry about what you're eating. Like you're just eating a variety of plants throughout the week. And that's really it. It's not this complicated thing that we have to overcomplicate. 2 years in, Katelyn, I know you were kind of dismissed or on and off going back and forth from doctor to doctor. So finally this one doctor says, okay, let's try plant-based eating. So you both give it 2 weeks. And it sounds like that is all it took for you to go like, okay, I think we're in this for the long haul.
After the 2 weeks, Jordan and I had a conversation. We're like, okay, are we really going to do this? Is this something that we want to do moving forward? And we both decided yes. So we went through our pantry, we went through our freezer, we went through our refrigerator, and we donated everything that was not plant-based. And then we just started filling our house with it. So we didn't have any
temptations.
To try and eat something like that. Yeah. And so, I haven't looked back at all. This has really been the best move forward. And like Jordan's saying, it's then propelled us. Like I stopped drinking alcohol. I've been just consuming things differently. And so I think it's just been a really cool jumping off point.
So I get this question a lot when one person is sort of the catalyst of going plant-based in a relationship. How is it for you, Jordan? Because I know some people are like, well, how do I get my partner on board? I mean, how did that go?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one, like, full disclosure, growing up, I was never a huge meat eater anyway. My parents always had it. I say that. I think compared to most, I wasn't a huge meat eater, but whatever. I think for our circumstance, it was a little different because of how sick Katelyn was. It was like, okay, we couldn't do anything together. Like we couldn't go out, like we would go for a drive and that would weaken Katelyn to a point where she would have to be in bed for days. So I saw it as more of an activity that we could do together, explore together, try new things together. And it really, I mean, at one point in time in our relationship, Katelyn was so busy with work. I was traveling so much with my work. I was running a Ice Hockey Referees Association. I was on the weekends refereeing. And she sat me down again and was like, hey, if we continue down this path, we're gonna be nothing but really good roommates. And that was well before she got sick. So we kind of had this instilled thing in our head that we got to start doing more things together. I fully believe in solidarity. It's easier to do it together than not.
Yeah.
Through Katelyn's new business, we hear this story all the time. I can't get my partner to help me. Maybe I don't know. Everyone's different, but I prefer a challenge. And if it makes us both feel better, and we both grow from it. I don't understand why someone wouldn't want to do it. Maybe this is a bit controversial, but maybe you should question that partner a little bit if they're not willing to do things with you. It sucks to say that, but there's a lot of things we think we do intentionally that we don't because we're more society based on what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So that's a much deeper conversation.
Yes.
No, it was just, people ask what's the definition of a man, a man. And it's, to me, it's, I'm gonna stand by her in any way. And this is my way of standing by her.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It sounds like you went into it really open-minded and again, supportive and went for it, both of you.
Yeah. I mean, Katelyn was cold turkey, full credit, man. Like November 9th, 21?
Yeah.
21. We went out to a great sushi restaurant in downtown Raleigh, and that was it. I had a vegetarian meal. She had a full vegan meal. She has not turned back since.
So I know, Katelyn, so you end up closing your practice because, I mean, you were on your feet all day long. And things start to kind of take a shift as you're paying more attention to what you're putting into your body. You're making some gradual changes. Now, I know it didn't happen overnight, but when did you start noticing some improvements? And then what sort of maybe was birthed after that?
So going plant-based made me look at the direction I was going in the medical world. So I had been very conventional, going to specialists and doctors, and going plant-based made me realize maybe I need to open my perspective a little bit more. And we looked more at functional holistic medicine. And that is really where I got better. So as we sit today, I mean, I can run a 5K. We walk 13, 14 miles consistently. I wake up with energy. I'm not in pain. I can eat food, which is amazing. I know when I worked with you, I was like, I had half a quarter of a potato or something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sick all day. You
Yep.
know, so I can eat a variety of everything and I feel balanced again.
Wow.
And the approach going holistic or functional was a total body approach. It's not necessarily just look at your respiratory and then go somewhere else and look at your brain and then go somewhere else and look here. It was like, it's all working together. And a lot of it starts in your gut. And that was the thing. You got to get your gut microbiome in check. And so it was 9 months of working with a functional doctor. And this is where I am today. So it was a slow progression at first. I'd say the first 4 or 5 months, it was a little bit slower, but just knowing what triggered your symptoms to get worse and how to pace and how to go about managing a life with a disease like this made a huge difference. And I mean, knowing what food to eat really, really made a difference. And that helped to balance everything. I'm not on any supplements anymore, except for vitamin B12, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah, I was on about 15 for a while, and it was all to like balance everything back out. And he was like, yeah, you're not supposed to be on supplements forever. He's like, you get it to balance, and then you use food. And that's how you move. So, I mean, it's been the best. I could not have even pictured being this healthy. I didn't think it was possible. I really never thought this would be possible.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Cause you could barely, like you said, Jordan had to walk you to the bathroom and now you're out running a 5K and walking 13 miles.
One of the first things you notice is just how you feel after a meal. That's the first thing we always notice. I feel satisfied, not full. And then, I mean, another byproduct of it, the weight you drop.
Oh yeah.
Like that. I'm now down like between 35 to 40 pounds. I don't know how much Katelyn is down. She refuses to share that with me.
Yeah, I'm down about like 65. Yeah.
Good job. But I mean, it's sleeping better. I mean, we sleep all night now. We're not tossing and turning. It's
and I mean, if I can say, my skin is clear.
Yeah.
I feel like people look at us and they're like, there's like a certain energy
Yeah.
about you, or like you look like you're glowing.
Yeah.
And it's really, I think, just feeling so good. It's
Yeah.
hard not to feel that way. It's hard not to kind of project that out.
Yep.
And then we have people be like, so what are you doing? Like, you're looking good. I can tell like something's going on with you. And that's been cool too. Like Jordan's parents, they now do meatless Mondays,
Yep.
which is huge for them.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Massive.
every time my parents come to visit, they'll stay vegan with us for that week.
Yep.
And they're just like, wow, I feel so good. I have all this energy. So it's cool that I would never tell anyone to go plant-based unless they came and asked me. But
Yeah.
you know, when people notice these changes, just looking at you,
Yeah.
they're like, okay, maybe there's something to this whole, you know, vegan thing you're doing, right?
Yes.
Like, we got something going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're literally radiating from like the inside out, and people notice that. And when you're walking the walk, kind of like we were talking earlier, you don't have to necessarily talk the talk and tell people to go plant-based. You can just show them how amazing and abundant it is.
And I have to say, the whole going vegan or plant-based is expensive, I think, is ridiculous. It's we've saved so much money going plant-based.
It's yeah, I'll put my tinfoil hat on for the second. That's definitely coming from like big pharma and big, General Mills BS.
Yep.
Because we keep talking about the byproducts of going plant-based. We go to the grocery store a lot more because there's not as many options at restaurants. Oh no, I'm not going to a restaurant and buying a $25 salad that I can make for $6.
Right.
We were those people. I mean, we were the people in Raleigh that everyone was like, hey, what restaurant to go to? Where should we go? Because we hit all of them. And when I say all of them, we were going out to eat 6 nights a week, probably on average. That adds up. Then you get a glass of wine. You know how much a glass of wine is now? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now we look at it and I'm like, oh no, we spent $300 at the grocery store once this month.
Wow.
Eggs.
You don't need it.
I don't need them, and they're not quite cheap right now. Also, the whole thing with like there was a massive outbreak of bird flu that went through the chicken population, I believe, is what I don't want to eat that chicken. I don't know about dying. Something tells me that would not be a good idea. If it's killing all the chickens, what's it doing to you?
Yeah. I mean, the veil is lifted, and you're not just seeing food for what it is, but you're seeing so many other things that are going on, even just in our country, that are related to food. That's just mind blowing.
Yeah, it's borderline scary.
Well, you can't, when people kind of see that and feel it, it's hard to go not see it.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. It's like watching some of those videos where you see how animals are actually treated when they're going to be created for, I mean, once you see that, it is so hard to unsee it. And that's what opens a lot of people's eyes. And whether they go vegan or not, that's a different question, but it's just something that you cannot unsee.
And that was one of the big reasons, not one of the big reasons, there's several reasons why we decided to go plant-based, but personally, and I think for both of us, I can speak for both of us here, that we love our animals. We've at one point 3 cats, I've had dogs. Katelyn grew up with dogs, and I remember being a kid with my friends going around the woods with BB guns hunting squirrels.
Yeah.
Never I just missed them. I realize now I purposely missed them because I can't kill another thing. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
People will call me what they want, but I can't look at a deer or a chicken and hurt it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I also don't feel that they're any less than us. We're all just beings on this planet doing the best we can. So there's a lot of that too is around the love of animals too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's beautiful. So I know, Katelyn, with you going plant-based, it's led to some other things that you're currently working on. So I would love for you to talk about that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so as we were saying before, I had to close my salon and close my businesses because I was sick. And during this whole time, I was trying to figure out what I can do to make an impact to help other people not feel so lost and alone going through long COVID. A lot of us are getting dismissed. A lot of us have no idea what to do, what symptoms are normal, what triggers your symptoms to get worse, what correlations are, what your baseline is. All this was just like a new language, right? Like none of this made sense. And I had to piecemeal it all together. I had multiple journals and apps and reaching out to people. Social media was a great tool to use. And I realized tracking your symptoms to find those correlations was the best route, but there was no easy way to do that. And I looked at all the apps and it just wasn't comprehensive enough to really get a good detailed look at what was happening to my body. I think I had to fully understand what was going on to actually be able to move forward. So I have been working on a tool that people can use to intuitively track their symptoms, any triggers, and we kind of lay everything out in the most easy to use way. So it's synced with a lot of the smart wearables. It's all sliders. So if you have brain fog, there's not a lot to read. If you have vision issues, which a lot of people with long COVID do, we've kind of taken into account all those design features for something like this. So you can put in all your data and then it's going to compile the correlations for you in a graph form. So you don't have to read it. You can just visually look at it. And then you can take all of that data, it puts it into doctor lingo for you. And it's a 1-page PDF and you hand it to your doctor. Like Jordan was saying before, the average is a 16-minute appointment. When you have over 200 symptoms, that's going to take longer than 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So you have to expedite the process as much as you can and make the most of your time during your appointment. So having this data is also going to make it harder for the doctor to dismiss you, right? So you're not only understanding your own body better, but now your doctor can understand what you're going through. They know how often you flare up. And keeping track of all this, there's a lot of organization that goes to being sick. Being sick feels like a full-time job. You've got a lot of appointments, you have a lot of medication, there's resources everywhere. I wanted one area that had all of it and I couldn't find it, so we built it. And it's been great. I've been working with a developer who's been dealing with ME/CFS or chronic fatigue syndrome for about 10 years.
Wow.
And there's a lot of things between long COVID and ME/CFS. And luckily the research from long COVID is actually pushing that forward for a lot of other chronic illnesses, which is amazing. But she had been trying multiple trackers, multiple apps, nothing had been working. So we're coming from a group of people who know what it takes to get better and know what it takes to manage your life with this.
Yeah.
So we're kind of pulling resources from everywhere and working with doctors, and you've put in some great information about nutrition, because I really think it's a total body thing. It's not, and it's also mental and emotional, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. So all of that is put into the app, which is called Apricity. And I will say the name Apricity, this is why I chose it. So have you heard that word before?
No, not before your app.
So it means the warmth of the sun on a winter's day. And if you think about what that is, it's very calming. There's something very hopeful about that. You're looking forward to like warmer days and sitting outside. And there's something very calming about that and very nice about that. And that's what I wanted this app to be. It's something that's going to give you hope, give you something to hold on to, and give you a brighter future, you need that. Hope is hard to come by with stuff like this. Yeah. And having a tool that's easy to use that you can then, hand that off to your doctor and figure out your own body, I think is going to make a really big impact. And I work with a lot of people in the long COVID community that are like, I had no idea that weather was a trigger for symptoms. I had no idea what post-exertional malaise meant, or all these things that are just not common knowledge if you've never been in a system like this before. And we're breaking it down into language that we can all understand.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And it sounds like you're creating something so that people don't have to go through what you did for 2 years, kind of going back from doctor to doctor, being dismissed, having those quick appointments where you just couldn't get at the root cause of like what was going on, or even have like this full body assessment that you truly needed. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like when you understand your own body, it empowers you to be your best health advocate. And I really think through that education and that understanding is how you're going to be able to say, no, something is going on and here's what it is. And you can't say that this is just anxiety. You can't say that this is just weight. There's something going on and you need to take it seriously. Having that backing
being like, no, something is actually going on and here's my data.
Yeah.
That's my best way to be my own advocate. And I know a lot of other people have felt that way as well.
Yep.
You know, that's one of, we talked a lot about, functional medicine worked for Katelyn, it's working for us. It's not a shot against traditional Western or American healthcare, conventional healthcare. The system has its flaws, no doubt in my mind. But I think at the core, the individual doctors want to help, but there's just not enough of them. They can't put forth that time because of their work constraints, right? We all have a job to do. So it's not a shot against them. It's trying to help the patient speak their lingo and understand and have that connection.
Kind of like bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Because there tends to be a big gap, at least when I would leave appointments. I was dealing with brain fog. So what they were saying to me just went poof, right over my head. I have no idea. And just knowing how to have that communication, I think is very valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were looking at going to Duke, UNC. We did go to ECU. And like Duke and UNC have set up long COVID clinics to study what's going on there. And when we were trying to get in, there were some issues with, Omicron hit. So they didn't have the bodies anymore. And the people we spoke to were so amazing, but it just the timing wasn't right. So we had to do what we had to do to get this one back up and running again.
Yeah. Yes. So Katelyn, how can people access the app? What's the best way for them to do that?
Thank you. So we're just about to jump into beta testing. So anyone who's looking to try out the app, if you're dealing with long COVID or even something similar to long COVID, there is a link that you can go to. It's apricityadvocates.com. And it has a little bit more information on it. I also talk on TikTok a lot about long COVID. There's a great community on there. So I'm Katelyn_long COVID on TikTok. And that's a good way to kind of chat back and forth. You hear a lot of other stories from people and kind of we're all sharing information to help each other out.
Yeah.
That is Katelyn. I never knew how many ways there were to spell Katelyn until I married a Katelyn.
There's a lot of ways to spell Katelyn.
Yes. Yep. I appreciate you spelling that. And we'll also include those links in the show notes. If you want to check out Katelyn on TikTok or check out the website, you can certainly do that. Wonderful. Well, was there anything that I didn't ask or that we didn't talk about that you wanted to make sure we shared?
I'll say this. It's really fun going plant-based. It's really fun. You're trying new recipes. You can't screw it up.
But I will say too, going vegan has been great because I don't worry about cross-contamination when I'm cleaning.
Yes.
It's all vegetables. I don't really have to I used to freak out about cross-contamination while cooking. So cooking for me has become so much more fun. I feel like all the rules are just blown out the window. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it's just, I feel like it's a whole new world to explore.
Yeah.
And
when you're cooking, you're not in front of a TV. You're with your partner or your friends or whomever. You're up, you're moving, your body's moving, so you don't even realize it, but you're getting exercise in. Cleaning the dishes is totally different now because there's no more cross-contamination.
Yes.
We're not using, typical cleaning products anymore. Was it white vinegar? White vinegar and a little bit of lemon and water. That's what we use to clean our pots and pans and most of our dishes because I don't want the other stuff in us anymore. So it's just we love to look at things as this or that, and really we're in a world of and.
I think you'll explore so many new flavors and just realize vegetables are really good.
Yeah.
They're really, really good. There's so many flavors and so many combinations, and it's exciting to know that. I don't feel like I have to slather cheese or butter on things to make it taste good. I'm I taste the food and that feels good and that tastes good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you all coming on. I know this was, this is something a little bit different, and I just appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and being so open to sharing your story too, because I think that's what people resonate with most is the challenges and the enthusiasm behind going plant-based, which I appreciate you all sharing.
Absolutely. And the connections you make.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Ashley, you're awesome.
Yeah, Ashley, you're
amazing. I mean, you helped me so much.
Yeah.
And I tell everyone about you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
podcast, go look at her, her information. You're just a wealth of information.
Yeah.
And you're the least judgy person when it
Yes.
comes to going plant-based, which is something I didn't think we'd be able to find. I thought it would be like, oh, judgy about whatever. But you're very casual and easygoing with that. And I think that made a big difference for us too.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
You're changing
Yeah,
people's lives out there.
Yes. Well, together we will do it. Thank you very much, though. Yeah. Well, thank you again. Like I said, I included all those links below. So if you're interested to learn more about Katelyn, the app, and following her on TikTok and checking out the website, you can definitely do that. And checking out that book. We have all those links below. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And Katelyn and Jordan, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Okay.
Until next time, keep thriving.